Alana, board members, Alana Nilsson, Mike McPartland, and John Hughes, and our secretary, Cynthia Habanowski. Since we have 4 board members, we have a quorum, and I am going to convene this meeting. The first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from the February 3rd meeting, but we can't do that because we don't have Jane here. So we'll move on to correspondence. And I'm going to note that there was a submission dated April 14th, 2026 from the applicant, Mr. Perez, regarding an arborist report with the updated Osorio tree service report. And there was also correspondence from neighbors, Mr. Losi and Mrs. Orlick, relating to the Perez application. We will discuss those when we get to the Perez area variance application. Public hearing, there are no public hearings. Regular session, new business, there is none. So let us begin. At the October 7th, 2025 meeting, the zoning board approved an area variance for Mr. Perez to build a garage attached to his house. And there were 3 conditions that came with that approval. We're going to focus on number 3, and I'm going to read it for the record. A visual barrier of trees must be planted along the right side property line and maintained. The applicant shall hire an arborist or horticulturalist to prepare a landscaping plan designed to screen and protect the views of neighboring properties, and to take into consideration the objectives and standards for screening and buffer area set forth in section 21037 of the town code. The plan shall be submitted to the zoning board of appeals as soon as possible and no later than December 17th, 2025 for approval and a decision by the zoning board as to which species of trees and how many must be planted. Upon request and for good cause shown, species adjustment may be granted by the code enforcement officer. No certificate of occupancy shall be issued until the required landscaping has been installed. As noted in the correspondence, we received a submission from Mr. Perez dated April 14th, 2026, along with the arborist report. And I will give Mr. Perez the opportunity to elaborate on that if you'd like to. Okay.
The drawing itself that I submitted and the trees are not going to be planted on the line. I think the correspondence to the letter we submitted is okay. We agree with our neighbor.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Mr. Losi, you are okay with this?
Yeah.
At least according to the submission you provided.
Submission would be agreed. We start like 10 feet before the house.
Mhm.
First tree.
Okay,
And I know Osorio, he had a good point, so the 3 established trees that I have on my side. We're not gonna plant any behind them.
okay,
That had those sides when it got bigger,
okay,
so they're gonna have 7 trees up to that point,
okay,
and then past that, 3 more.
okay,
And then they'll be 6 foot off more.
okay,
Just to confirm, we're all talking about this.
okay. And so,
Another thing is maintenance, replacing the disease, dying, or anything else.
and we will address that during this meeting. Thank you for bringing it up. Okay, so the question before the board is, are we prepared to accept this letter from Mr. Perez with the attached Osorio tree service as meeting the requirement in condition 3 of the October 7th approval?
Yes.
You're okay with that?
Second.
Any discussion necessary?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
Pretty
It's we've confirmation from the neighbors that was really the primary concern here. So.
Yeah.
Okay, and just to point out for the record that the Osorio Tree Service report indicates where the trees will be planted. And they will be white pine. And that's what is going to be proposed. So I would like to make a motion that we accept the letter from Mr. Perez dated April 14th, 2026, in combination with the report from Osorio Tree Service, also dated April 14th, 2026, as meeting the requirement in condition 3, a visual barrier of trees shall be planted, and the report shall be submitted to the zoning board. Do I have a second on that motion? Mike? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. That's good. All right. The next order of business has to do with what Mr. Losi brought up, which is maintaining the trees and the barrier. And we feel that we need to clarify the language that was in the October 7th minutes. And I am going to read what we are proposing for that. So we have it in the record. And this is the definition that we'd like. Any tree within the required visual barrier that dies shall be replaced during the next available planting season, meaning spring if the death occurs during the fall or winter, and fall if the death occurs during spring or summer. This requirement is intended to promote planting at a time of year that will maximize survival of the replacement tree while ensuring that screening requirement remains meaningful and the replacement of a dead tree occurs in a timely manner. Does that sound acceptable to Mr. Perez and Mr. Losi? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that the definition that I just read be used for clarifying the word maintained in the October 7th condition 3 meeting minutes. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're moving right along. Okay, what we need to do now is we need to formalize where that language is going to appear. And so I'm going to read something, and what I'm going to read, I would suggest would appear at the end of condition 3 in the October 7th meeting minutes. And I'm going to read its entirety and we can have any comments if necessary. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby clarifies condition number 3 of its October 7th, 2025 determination, granting an area variance to Angel Perez. Condition number 3 required that trees be planted as a visual barrier along the right side property line and that the visual barrier be maintained. To formalize the board's original intent regarding maintenance of the visual barrier, the following language is adopted to illuminate what is meant by the word maintained in condition 3. And I will read this again. Any tree within the required visual barrier that dies shall be replaced during the next available planting season, meaning spring if the death occurs during the fall or winter, and fall if the death occurs during the spring and summer or summer. This requirement is intended to promote planting at a time of year that will maximize survival of the replacement tree while ensuring that screening requirement remains meaningful and that replacement of a dead tree occurs in a timely manner. This clarification is issued to ensure enforceability of the original condition. And so what this does is it allows someone to say, yes, in fact, you are following what was intended when we use the word maintained. Do we have any discussion on this? No discussion?
Should we want to put a time? I
Uh,
mean, like, is this our role for the next 5 years?
Well, no, this requirement is for
The duration?
the duration. In perpetuity, right, in perpetuity.
Can we make sure that that's stated somewhere?
Um, Well, okay. Trying to figure out where it will go, Alana.
Okay.
I think at the end,
Is you to enforce.
or maybe you could put it right at the end, right at the second sentence of this requirement. Meaning this requirement, this requirement is enforceable in perpetuity and is intended to promote planting at a time.
This requirement.
Yeah, it's not really an requirement, it's a clarification.
Well, the requirement is a clarification of what we had written previously. So you're suggesting, Mike, this requirement, comma, in perpetuity is intended to promote?
Yes. Or this requirement. Maybe this requirement shall be maintained in perpetuity and is intended. Right, the clarification being that 10, 15 years from now, it's still enforceable.
Okay, let me offer an alternative. This requirement is intended to promote planting at a time of year that will maximize survival of the tree, of the replacement tree, while ensuring that screening requirement remains meaningful, that replacement of dead tree occurs in a timely manner and does not expire.
I like that.
But
Okay. Cynthia, were you able to catch that? And does not expire. Okay. I think that captures what you were trying to convey.
all right,
Alana, right?
Yeah.
got the gist.
Okay, that's good discussion.
Great.
All right. With that clarification, I make a motion that we accept that language to be inserted after condition 3. In the October 7th resolution, and that we change the date on the resolution from October 7th to dated revised on May 5, 2026. Okay. So with that, I'd make a motion. Do I have a second on that? Mike
Second,
again?
yep.
All in favor?
I,
Okay. So we've clarified what we mean by maintained. We've said that the requirement never expires. And the last order of business has to do with the fact that when the requirement 3 was written and we asked for the plan to be submitted no later than December 17th, 2025, the expectation was that trees would be planted in the spring of this year. Will that be done?
So.
What was height?
On. Another $6,000-7,000 we have to put in.
Mhm.
I know the importance of it, but I also am getting kind of back and forth. So, I'm not sure what the time frame is. If I can get it in tomorrow, I would love to, but. I don't know, my neighbor had a time frame, people like this to go in, but I'm gonna get it done. I don't know when, but it's.
So let's say, I assume your time frame is as soon as possible.
Okay, let's step back to the requirement that we imposed about replacing dead trees. The reason we inserted that language as it states is because we don't want trees planted at a time of year where they're likely not to survive.
Of course.
Okay, and so, well, we're trying to be reasonable here. And so it was our expectation that the trees would be planted this spring, which was why we asked for a report in December that gives 3 or 4 months. Mr. Losi, would you be all right if the trees were planted with the idea that Mr. Perez will try and plant the trees this spring, but they may not be planted until the fall?
No, sorry, they're not gonna plan As a contractor, they're not doing so.
Right.
If you tell them to flood it in 2 weeks from now, he's gonna repeat it, you know.
Right.
Okay.
He's a good. Right, good contractor. You know.
All right, we have left intentionally the definition of spring vague. All right. And so, we're assuming that people will use good judgment when determining what spring is. Well, okay, this,
Yes, as long as it's there, that's gonna be done. Like, if it has to go to fall, it doesn't matter.
okay, so
As long as I know that it's there, that's gonna be done.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So what we have is an agreement that Mr. Perez will try and install the trees this spring, but no later than the fall of 2026. It's gonna be a requirement.
Yeah.
It's not a plan.
Plan.
It's a requirement.
You're right.
If it's not installed, you'll be in violation. So
What if, for whatever reason, I go into violation, what would happen? Just play this scenario.
I suppose you could be fined.
You know,
No.
This is not my area.
Right.
I'm trying to, what we're trying to do is to resolve an issue that was somewhat contentious. And it sounds like we've been able to come up with a resolution that all parties feel is reasonable, given what's in front of us. What we want to do is to make sure that you understand that this is not an open-ended issue, that you've asked us to be forgiving in not requiring it this spring if money is tight, and Mr. Losi seems to be willing to do that. But we will insist that they be planted by the fall of 2026.
Great.
All right. Having done that, we've covered everything that I wanted to cover this evening. Is there anything else you would like to cover? Okay. There is no other business. And in that case,
we need to close this up?
no, other than we can't approve the meeting minutes from February because we don't have. So we've handled the Perez area variance. There is no other business. Next meeting deadline is May 12th, 2026 by noon. Next meeting is June 2nd, 2026. And if there's no other business, the meeting is closed. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.